excited to be answering real questions from real parents like you. And this is episode 51 of season 7. I can't believe we've been answering all these questions. This is so fun.
Yeah.
So we have a new question today. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. The question is, Dear Matsons, I am a single mom. How do I discuss puberty and sex with my son? Sincerely, not equipped. Excellent question. First, I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say that being a single mom has its own unique challenges. And so you're not only having to face, talking about puberty and sex with your son, but there's so many other things that you're juggling. I'm not going to assume that there's not a dad in the picture. So if there is a dad around, then I would encourage you to lean into that father and to ask them to partner with you, recognizing that they might not be engaged at the fact that your son is growing up and needing these conversations. So if you have a co-parenting relationship, make sure you lean into that dad. If there's not a dad or a healthy dad in the picture, then we're going to give you a few extra tips today.
Yeah, one of the things that comes to my mind has to do with resources that can be outside of you and outside of somebody else, a male figure in your son's life that might allow them to enter into some of the conversations that you're wanting them to have on their own terms and sort of in private, if you will. Not too little, but also not too much is kind of important. You can too much information, too much detail can be, well, maybe too much for many, and open doors that you don't want them to open quite so early. However, too little is also kind of an issue as well. So just sort of try to find the right balance with your son. There are lots of online resources. There's different ways in which different kids, your son has a particular learning style, and trying to appeal to that. Might be a book, it might be a podcast, it might be a video or a series of some sorts that you can share with them, ask them to watch this. Provide say we're going to talk a little bit about it afterwards, or provide someone else that can talk with them about that in addition to you. So just safe entry points for your son to be able to explore this a little bit in a safe way and at the right measure. And so you're just sort of attuning to that as he goes along. But
yeah, I mean, it's a nerve-wracking conversation for every parent. And I guess what I'm hearing you say is don't be afraid to engage your son just because you're mom.
That's right.
And in fact, sexuality is one of those things that can create a lot of shame and embarrassment if we're doing and exploring it on our own. So having that human connection with you, the conversation, maybe reading something and then coming and talking to you about it, helps keep sexuality and the changes that are happening in his body in a more neutral place where there's not a lot of hiding and teaching that I have to do this on my own. But the idea of recognizing there's different phases, you were talking about developmentally where they're at. So about 8 to 10, you're really wanting to talk to your son specifically around things like pornography and what is good and not good. So the book, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, is a great picture book, children's book, that you can go through with your son and just kind of being able to identify what is healthy for us to engage in when it comes to pornography. Actually, there's no pornography that's healthy to engage in.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
the way I said that.
Where's she going here?
But but what I mean is recognizing what that is and what that can do. And the average boy actually is engaged in pornography between the age of 6 and 11. So if you're in an environment where you want to talk a little earlier with your son about that, then do that. And then between about that age 8 to age 13, you're talking a lot about the puberty, the body changes. And so as a mom, you're thinking about BO and, the changes that might be happening from wet dreams that happen, all kinds of things that you need to get educated on and make sure that you know what's happening in your son's body. And then from 13 to 18, you're doing a lot about how to do healthy relationships, friendship, dating, treating women. Those are conversations you can have and guide with your son in very neutral ways when situations come up. So don't be afraid to talk to your son, even if you aren't the man in his life.
Yeah, and in many ways, you're very positioned to offer kind of advanced insights, right? That as he gets older, can be very handy in terms of, especially as it relates to treating women and having a healthy understanding. Boys and teen guys are oftentimes trying to out-posture and think that they have to know, and they're pretending that they know all this stuff. And if you built that relationship where there's openness, and then you can be that coach. Just be like, you want the inside scoop on what girls and what women are going to really value and appreciate, and it'll set you apart. You'll develop a great reputation, and that's something that every young boy, every young teen guy, actually deep down inside would want to have, is that kind of respect and that kind of to be viewed in that way. So you're positioned really well in that space. And I think, on the topics of actual body stuff and everything, I mean, most boys and teens, guys aren't going to want to talk to their mom necessarily about those physical changes. And so, but you can, of course, set the table as it relates to the big picture about God's plan for sex and the gift that it is. And big picture concepts are very appropriate in that space. And even, when you're looking at if dad's not going to be involved, finding another male figure in their lives, also to reinforce those big picture concepts. Maybe it's a youth pastor that your son trusts, or a grandfather, or someone that's that kind of a figure in his life, to be able to validate and support the concepts of God's plan for sex and big picture wise, right? But on the details, that's where I think some resources that your son could absorb just the right amount on that are going to address the body changes, where hair's going to show up in new places and all kinds of things, and just even the sense of testosterone in the body and what that might do for them. Not every boy is going to feel that same charge of testosterone. There's different levels there, but in case that's strong and big, that can impact the switch that they have towards anger. And understanding that and processing those types of things. Those are conversations that you can have, but I think those resources provide some safety and some a place where he can read and analyze or hear and listen and think about on his own terms, and then offer conversation about that. In conjunction with if your son's going to public school, they're going to be getting the basics. And they'll also have an advanced kind of library, if you will, of information, so they're not going to be as surprised when they've been given this stuff earlier. Sometimes parents are thinking, oh my gosh, why am I having to talk about this so early? I mean, you're talking about pornography at that age. Well, you want to be the first one to be able to talk with them about these things, because they are going to be exposed. And it gives them a leg up. It's communicating care and love. They'll translate that as, I'm ahead of the curve. I'm not surprised by some of this as much as I might be, or thrown a curve ball. It's not to say you're going to cover all the bases, but yeah.
And we'll make sure that we have some specific resources for you in the notes with maybe some recommended books. But you, mom, need to research and be willing to know this information so you can be ready to answer those questions. If you like what you're hearing and these episodes are helpful for you, we would love for you to like these episodes as well as subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of these episodes.
And just remember that you're the right parent for the job, and Tara and I are here cheering you on.